I started my career chasing unicorns. I joined Pinterest as employee number 2, but in 2011, I left before my stock vested to build my own billion-dollar company. On April 2nd, 2011, I tweeted, "Just had an idea for my first billion-dollar company. Tomorrow, I start building it." I had spent a weekend building the prototype of Gumroad, a tool that helped creators sell their products online. No complicated setup, no elaborate storefront, just a link for customers to pay and you're in business. More than 50,000 people visited the site on the first day, and I was sure I was on the cusp of something big. The first step, raising money from VCs. As a 19-year-old solo founder, I found myself walking up and down the mythical Sandhill Road, sweating through my jeans, having meetings in the same rooms where the decisions to fund companies like Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google had happened. I ended up raising more than $8 million in venture capital from renowned Silicon Valley investors, including Excel Partners, early investor in Facebook, Kleiner Perkins, early investor in Google, Amazon, and Apple, Max Levchin, co-founder of PayPal, Naval Ravikant, co-founder of AngelList, and Chris Sacca, early investor in Twitter, Square, and Uber. They too thought they saw a unicorn galloping in the distance. The chase was on. In short order, I built a world-class team, recruiting talent out of companies like Stripe, Yelp, and Amazon, and together we went to work on building a world-class product. I was confident that I'd soon be strolling through Allen & Company's annual Sun Valley conference, strategizing about the fight against malaria arm in arm with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. I was never in it for the money, I told myself. I wanted to make an impact, but quietly. When I became a tech titan, I was going to be the kind of titan magazine profiles called down to earth. I didn't make it to Sun Valley that summer, or the summer after that. The closest I ever got to Bill Gates was watching him speak at a Kleiner Perkins CEO summit. Gumroad's pitched flight into the stratosphere leveled off after we burned through about $10 million in venture capital. After 9 months of trying to raise more funding, we failed. In October 2015, I laid off 3/4 of the staff, including many good friends. Once the bleeding stopped, it was time to reassess. Gumroad was still operational, but I felt like a complete failure. With many in my circle still focused on raising money, hiring employees, and chasing their own billion-dollar companies, some successfully, I couldn't bear to stick around Silicon Valley. For much of 2016, I kept my apartment in San Francisco, but spent most of my time traveling and writing fiction, convinced that even if I couldn't hack it in startup land, I could still build a life for myself as a digital nomad. While I was inspired by Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek, it didn't take long to realize that operating Gumroad as a lifestyle business wasn't for me. I was still trying to figure out what came next when I saw a tweet from Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite authors, about a science fiction and fantasy writing class he was teaching in Provo, Utah. In January 2017, I jumped on the opportunity to save rent and save face by moving to a place where no one knew me. There, I could figure out how to regroup, even as I kept Gumroad afloat. I knew things would be very different in Provo, but the contrast still surprised me. In San Francisco, being successful means you've made a lot of money, which in San Francisco is a lot of money. In Utah, it means you're married and active in the church. My new Provo friends told me that I'd been crazy trying to build a billion-dollar company in the first place. Why wasn't Gumroad good enough as it was? After all, I had a sustainable business serving a group of customers I loved. What more could I want? At first, I couldn't quite grasp what they were talking about, but after living in Provo for a couple of years, away from the white-hot epicenter of venture capital, I came to agree. While the unicorn I was chasing turned out to be more of a Shetland pony, my original vision was being realized. Thousands of creators were using Gumroad to build their own creative businesses. Real people in the real world were paying their mortgages, or topping off their kids' college funds, or simply paying for a few extra lattes by selling courses, ebooks, and software online. Over time, I realized that the problem wasn't Gumroad. The problem was me. I was still so focused on that elusive unicorn, I couldn't see the thriving business humming along right in front of me. Gumroad was profitable, the right size for its market, and enabling more and more writers, coders, crafters, and other makers to achieve their dreams with each passing day. Gumroad may have been a crappy investment for a few venture capitalists, but it was still a great company for its customers. In the year after the layoffs, when I worked by myself, Gumroad still sent approximately $40 million to our creators without any content marketing or paid advertising, just creators telling other creators. When I recommitted to growing the company again in 2019, I continued to say no to those things I had said yes to previously and focused solely on what would create more value for our creators, namely shipping a better product. It worked. In 2020, Gumroad sent more than $140 million to our creators, up 87% over the year before, all while remaining profitable. Companies like mine may not grace the covers of glossy magazines or inspire Hollywood biopics, but they drive real positive change and empower their founders, customers, and employees alike. I know that now, but it took me years to decouple my self-worth from my net worth and to realize that I hadn't failed. I had succeeded. In February 2019, I wrote about my experience in a Medium essay, reflecting on my failure to build a billion-dollar company that struck a chord with millions. Since then, I've had the chance to connect with entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs who deep down would much rather build a sustainable business like Gumroad than chase a unicorn. They just think it's weird and uncool to express that desire when the media and our bigger is better culture keeps telling them that a unicorn is the only kind of business worth creating. While that may be the right path for some companies, for many more, it's not. Yet plenty of early-stage startups still end up raising venture capital because they can't fund their businesses in a sustainable way through profits. As a result, they're locked into the pursuit of huge winner-take-all markets where growth is the most important asset of their businesses, not revenues, profits, or sustainability. To help me reconcile those differences, I asked myself certain questions over and over again. What do I actually care to change? If I could fix one thing about my corner of the world, what would that be? What kind of business do I really want to build, own, and run? Other founders and future founders have asked themselves similar questions and come to similar realizations. Many of their stories are included in this book. I call these people minimalist entrepreneurs, and I call their companies minimalist businesses. Building a minimalist business does not mean settling for second best. Instead, it's about creating sustainable companies that have the flexibility to take risks to serve the greater good, all while empowering others to do the same. Being profitable, hopefully from the very beginning, means being able to focus and to stay focused on the reason you started a business in the first place, to help others. Historically, entrepreneurs have played a crucial role in driving technological and social progress. This is even more necessary today when big corporations are required by law to prioritize shareholder value over, among other things, actual value. In researching this book, I found countless examples of businesses such as Basecamp, Wistia, Missouri Star Quilt Company, and many other honest-to-goodness, highly scalable companies incredibly focused on solving meaningful problems with beautiful products, services, and software that people love, and making a profit doing it. Each company goes about things their own way, depending on the specific community they're building for. But they all focus on problem solving and not taking themselves too seriously. No matter their differences, we can learn from them all. Unfortunately, the word entrepreneur has a weird taint to it. I remember going to a career fair at school and not identifying with the entrepreneurs at all. They seemed like businessmen. They were always men. And I didn't even like business. I liked making things. Eventually, I realized that a business is not an end in and of itself. A business is a tool to make or do stuff, a legal structure. That's it. At first, I didn't need a company, but eventually, my creations required a legal structure, a team, and an operation to make the stuff I wanted to make, so I started a business. When I made my transition from unicorn chaser to minimalist entrepreneur, I had to wrap my head around another new normal. This book is about deconstructing the myths we tell ourselves about the best way to build impactful businesses to change the abstract, singular world, and about seeking the truth about how to build the businesses that will make us and our communities wealthier, healthier, and happier. In the end, my failure to launch Gumroad into the stratosphere was the best thing that ever happened to me because it taught me the very real consequences behind a growth at all costs mindset. Unfortunately, it took me 8 years and a lot of pain to realize it. I hope this book will help other aspiring entrepreneurs learn the lessons I learned without the painful layoffs and years of soul-searching. The overwhelming response to the viral essay I wrote about my experience is more proof that this promise resonates with many. This book, part manifesto, part manual, will help you design, build, and successfully grow your own right-sized business. Listen again and again, especially when you feel stuck. But keep in mind that you definitely do not need to finish this book to start. Start as soon as you can. Start before you feel ready. Start today. You don't learn, then start. You start, then learn. Now, let's get to it.